to Women in Community. I'm Cecilia, and this month we are talking about breaking the barriers. I love that theme. And we are talking about these incredible women in the Bible and in history up until our present time that have had such incredible accomplishments.
Yeah.
And we need to hear about them. We need to learn about them. And so with me, I have my dear friend, Paula, and I'm so happy to hear what you are going to be sharing about.
Thank you, Cecilia. Well, I have a very modern day woman to talk about, and her name is Natasha. This particular woman is also a friend of mine, and she really is a boundary breaker.
You bet.
She was raised under communism when Russia was still the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Communism had been operative there for 45 years already, so it was quite entrenched.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union was an atheistic country, and the churches that survived were underground churches. And they were severely persecuted almost to extinction. They had no public footprint because it was far too dangerous. So Natasha was not raised having a knowledge of the saving grace and love of God.
Right.
But in 1989, the Iron Curtain, as it was called, fell. And missionaries began flooding into the country in fairly large numbers. And they were bringing Bibles, and they were holding evangelistic meetings all over, especially in the big cities like Moscow.
Right.
So finally, the church could be public and out in the open after 70 years.
Can you imagine? Wow.
No. And the loss of the knowledge of Christ that needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
So Natasha was fluent in English, and she became a sought-out interpreter for many visiting ministries. Of course, in these meetings, she was exposed to a wide variety of teachings, but she was captivated by the pure, simple, straightforward message of the gospel.
Yeah.
The fall of mankind, the deception of Satan, the substitutionary work of Christ on our behalf, and our restoration. In 1990, she, because of her exposure to the gospel message, came to know the Lord, and she was on fire. She wanted her nation far and wide to receive the gospel. And in 1995, she became the first female full-time traveling minister in the former Soviet Union.
Wow. That is so awesome.
1995.
Yeah.
She started where she was, then she branched out all over Russia. Today, she oversees numerous churches. She trains nationals to reach their people group.
Yeah.
She does leadership seminars, youth camps, and she does all this through her ministry called Gospel Village Harvest. Yeah. Her teams go to places so remote that some can only be reached by snowmobiles.
I believe it.
And there was a time when her ministry rented unused Soviet tanks to take their teams above the Arctic Circle.
Wow, that's so cool.
She is always looking for ways to get the message out, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So in each of these remote villages, what they do is she brings a team in and they set up a library of only gospel books. Often there's no library. And the team will stay after they do evangelistic meetings. The teams will stay to help them establish a church, which often doesn't even exist.
Right.
And these are often among indigenous peoples as well.
Right.
And so, then they train up leaders so that they can go on and do this again elsewhere to another region. They also help them start up family farms so they can become more autonomous.
Yeah.
And so Natasha has teams in 20 regions of Russia across 120 nationalities.
Okay. So we need
That's
to grasp
amazing.
some of this impact that she is having. It's incredible. And I read somewhere that about 70% of her workers and her leaders are women.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes, that is true. So she has like thousands and thousands of churches under her. Quite a few years ago, she told me it was 20,000.
Oh, my goodness.
So we know it's a lot more now. Hers is a truly apostolic first century work in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Breaking down cultural barriers can be a daunting task anywhere, but Russia has some unique attributes. Get a load of this. Russia has 11 time zones, covering 6.5 million square miles. It spans east to west, 5,600 miles. It's twice the size of the United States, for a reference. This is big.
Yeah.
And her goal is to reach the entire nation. It has dozens of people groups, all with their own ancient cultural norms and history. So the challenge that she met was, how do you communicate the message of the gospel to such diverse people? She has found the pure gospel message crosses barriers, boundaries, and borders. And for nearly 30 years, Natasha has developed multiple teams taking a concise message across her nation and has been able to multiply her reach. She has blazed a trail others can follow, and needless to say, she has broken barriers.
You bet.
And she has trusted a big God to do big things. Not only did she come to know Jesus as her personal Lord and Savior, where his influence was hardly noticed or experienced, but she never allowed the call of God and the big vision that she had, nor her gender, to hinder the work God had called her to do.
Yeah.
And like her, we can trust a big God to do big things with whatever he has called us to do and tasked us with. I hope Natasha's story inspires you to not allow any perceived or real barriers to get in your way from fulfilling everything that you have on your heart. And I hope her story gives you inspiration to think outside the box.